Today we're talking about the importance and the value of intellectual property. And matter of fact, how intellectual property can be as valuable or even more valuable than real estate property. Stay tuned. So one thing I'm huge on is how can I find a way in order to become financially free, right? I think, constantly because of school, because of the people that we're around, and just because of how society has taught us, I think I know that we can fall into doing what the last person we seen do, doing what the people around us are doing. And a lot of times people are not really trying to figure out what it is that they want to do in this life. They get stuck in the mindset of just having a job, keeping a job, and paying their bills, which makes all the sense in the world. But, at the same time, we want to make sure that we're looking to be outstanding. We're not looking to just be normal. We're not looking to just be regular people. We want to be extraordinary people, exceptional people. And with that, you have to look at what other exceptional people have done. So whenever you're looking at the way of the wealthy, you realize that wealthy people do not trade time for money. Most of us do. Wealthy people usually own systems, processes, assets, and especially ideas. And that's where the intellectual property piece comes in. They use these things in order to leverage their time while cash flowing. So if I was to ask you as a regular person, potentially a regular person, if you were to lose your job right now, how would you make money? Do you have a legitimate answer? And this is why I speak on ownership. I speak on investing. I speak on investing in yourself, but investing in tangible assets as well, such as real estate, because you have a chance to, as those properties appreciate, as time goes on, you gain cash flow monthly, weekly, whatever, however the dynamics work out in that situation with that asset, where as you're getting paid, you're finding the time to do extraordinary things. So in my last video, whenever I was talking about ownership, I spoke on owning your time, realizing who owns your time right now and how can you take that time back. What we have to realize is that though we get so caught up in the goings on of our lives, our job, if certain people have kids, they have their kids, as we get caught up in these things, we forget that if we want to be extraordinary people, our days should be filled with extraordinary things. And that's a process within itself. Asking yourself, how exactly can you make the most out of your days? Because you hear older people say all the time, life comes at you fast. So, they can remember a time in which they were in their early to mid 20s. Then one day they woke up, figuratively speaking, they woke up and all that time has passed. 20 years have gone just like that, because they've been doing the same mundane things over and over and over again, to where these days have been melted into one. And it just seems like Groundhog Day for a lot of people. This is where we consider, and not only do we consider, we actually take action in developing intellectual property. Now, what are examples of intellectual property? Intellectual property can be content, right? Like, so this video you're watching, the videos I posted on my channel, if you haven't checked them out, by the way, go ahead and check them out. But you have content in which we already know in this day and age how meaningful, how powerful content can be. And to be honest, there's a lot of content out there in which is meaningless. So it's even more important whenever you're creating this content that you see to create, that you're actually saying real things. You may be teaching somebody something, you may be presenting a new perspective to different people, that's meaningful, because with how the world is constantly changing, it makes all the sense in the world to be somebody who is presenting new ideas, presenting new perspectives, so that people who are interested in these ideas and these viewpoints, they can be more successful, right? Because it's not just about ourselves being as successful as we want to be. We have to make sure we're also serving. So that's one type of intellectual property. You also have brands. So you also have brands, you have systems, which are, these are things that you design, right? We think of brands, we think of clothing brands, we think of athletic brands, Nike, Adidas, Under Armour, whatever, or anything like that, where you can create something one time and it can be licensed, it can be reused, it can be, that's part of the reason why I wanted to create these videos, so that older people or younger people, doesn't matter what demographic you are, you can understand that there are ways in which we can get out of doing what everybody else has done before us. And it's not to say that what everybody else has done before us is bad, but it's to say that we're looking to be bigger, we're looking to be better as time goes on, we're looking to be smarter, more intelligent, and do things in a more efficient and effective way. So constantly we have to put it into our mind that we're daring to be great. So when you think about, when I speak on investing in real estate, when I speak on developing intellectual property, when I speak on curating discipline into your life, these are all things you have to do in order to embrace the road to success. We all know this. We have examples, whether they be celebrities or athletes or whoever you may look up to, even people closer to us, parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, any type of family or friend. If they have succeeded in anything, we know the makings of somebody who's successful. It's just, we have to take on those traits as well if we want to see the same success, which we obviously do. When it comes to intellectual property, the reason this may be more valuable, at the very least as valuable as real estate property, is because it scales. Intellectual property scales without location, whereas real estate, we understand that the location matters so much. Where a property is located can directly impact how much money you'll make, monthly on said property. So when it comes to IP though, when it comes to intellectual property, it scales without location. You can be wherever, and if you're making meaningful content, entertaining content, or you're doing something that people just enjoy, blogs, a book, whatever, you're constantly doing it, even if you did it one time, these things can scale and they can compound attention through different social media platforms. Depending on how you market, depending on how you promote, that's how you compound attention. And that's something I'm working on myself. Also, when it comes to intellectual property, you're dealing with low marginal costs. We already know with real estate, there's a lot of money. There's a lot of money that goes into real estate. So you have to have means, and you have to have the processes to, save up the capital in order to invest. When it comes to content creation or any other type of intellectual property, you can have something as simple as a phone, simple as a tripod, which I have. Film videos just like this, low cost. I don't have to worry about a studio. I don't have to worry about high level camera. I don't have to worry about any type of specific setup. And I can relay this message to people who are looking to think on a higher level. And I just talked about how wealthy people do not trade their time for money. Actually, they use their money to access more time, right? When it comes to the amount of content, the amount of meaningful content that you're putting out, or when it comes to the amount of meaningful content that you're putting out, you have the potential to earn revenue off this content over time. You're able to have these assets gain money while your time is not being extracted, right? You're not using a lot of time to make a little bit of money. You've already put your time in to create that content. Now, regularly, routinely, it is bringing in. So that's the opportunity we have while That's the opportunity we have while creating intellectual property. And so we always have to remember leverage. We always have to remember leverage. That's always a huge thing. How we can leverage the assets we have in order to access more time for whatever. Maybe you're somebody who wants to spend more time with family. You're always away. Like whenever I was on the boat, working on the boat for 4 weeks at a time, you're away from family. So maybe you may want to spend time on a passion you want to pursue. Right? Whatever it is you want to embrace, whatever it is you're after, we have to find new ways. And these ways are not even that new, but we have to consider the ways that are already here in order to accomplish the things that we really want. Because if we want to achieve freedom, we have to look to own things that grow without our time being used. Some other reasons I think intellectual property may have more advantages than real estate is, it's similar to real estate as in it has the potential to appreciate over time. And we know real estate is a great vehicle for appreciation, but IP has the same potential. There are content creators who have released videos years ago and they're still making thousands and thousands. They may actually be making more now than they were whenever they first released that piece of content. Right? People write books. This usually happens with books. I've heard where somebody write a book, release it, and over time, it just took maybe a little bit more time to click with the average person. Either way, you see that intellectual property has the capability of appreciating just like real estate does. There's also no real market for IP. Like there are markets for, like there's a certain level of demand for each niche, but there's no set market like there is in real estate. Like with real estate in the US, and so the national market and the local market can and will have a huge influence on potential cash flow, right? Also, let's think about one of the biggest reasons there's an advantage of intellectual property as opposed to real estate is there's really no debt involved. That's always great when you don't have to worry about debt, even if you deal with debt in a way in which you have to, like with real estate, investing in houses. So when it comes to IP, there is no debt that's involved. So this encourages you more to put yourself out there and offer whatever you have to offer to the world. Like I realized for myself that it made no sense for me to hold in the knowledge I had when it came to real estate investing, when it came to working out, when it came to eating healthy, when it came to being active all the time, when it came to keeping a clear mind or living a healthy lifestyle in general. It made no sense for me to keep that in when you have so many people out here getting rich, getting attention off of things that are not real. Essentially, we all have something to offer, so we have to encourage each other to bring forth these things and let our light shine, so that not only so that we can be glorified or so that we can be seen a certain way from other people, but so that we're showing what's special about ourselves. And if we can get paid for that, it's a win-win situation for everybody involved, yourself and the people you're relaying information to. So yes, you're dealing with an asset in which can appreciate without debt. So think about labor. Labor resets every day. When I go into my current job right now, or if I go into working on the boat, every day it resets. After we get done the previous night, we know that when we wake up, it's going to be the same thing over and over again. It resets. But assets appreciate. Whenever you have an asset, you know that as time progresses, you will be more and more beneficial for what time and money you have put in to that craft. Intellectual property usually scales with distribution. So however many ways you can distribute the content in which you have made, the information that you're displaying, if you can go social media through Instagram, TikTok, we know the social media platforms, if you can go through other means, regular media, in order to distribute what you're offering, that's how you can scale your intellectual property. As opposed to real estate, you scale with doors. So however many doors you have is what your cash flow is going to be based on, which is great. Real estate is always a great thing, but when it comes to IP, now if you sell a book, you sell products, however many of those you can scale through your, however many of those products you can sell through marketing and promoting, however way you want to do it, will also lead to financial success. So like I said, IP scales with distribution, real estate scales with doors, as we know. Now there are some similarities when it comes to real estate and when it comes to IP, as you're embracing a path of business really with both. And both take patience, both take time, both take diligence in order for you to see the fruits of your labor. And that's what we have to have in our mind. We have to embrace diligence, patience, and the appropriate time spent in order to master these asset classes. Because we never want to end up quitting before we get our reward for the time we put in to whatever it is we're looking to achieve. And obviously we can't forget consistency, being consistent. And consistency is not always about just posting. It's also a way to build your asset slowly. So you always want appreciation. As things appreciate, that's more time you take back. So we have to focus on being owners and being owners of everything in our lives. Like I spoke on in my last video, I said you have to own your time, you have to own your decisions, you have to own yourself ultimately. And owners chase leverage. Most people are going to chase income. We're looking to be in control of our own destiny. Not our boss, not our supervisor, our manager. We have to be in control of our own destiny. The things that we want to succeed is all in our hands. There's no need to be famous. There's no need for validation. There's no need to be seen. Just let's focus on owning something that can outlive our efforts. Own what you create, and history shows us that this will lead to an amazing future, something that we probably can't even imagine right now. So consider creating intellectual property and consider the benefits of intellectual property. And I've already spoken on real estate. If you haven't checked out my Level Up series, buying your first rental property, check that out. So we already understand the benefits of real estate, but these two things in combination can really lead to a life of abundance. Not that we don't have that now, but you know, we got to be fruitful and multiply. We want to multiply the abundance. Consider these things and realize that you, me, we are only one idea away from being financially free. So with that being said, I hope this information serves you well. Any questions, comments, concerns, obviously leave them in the comment section below. When it all costs, I'm out.